All right. We'll call this meeting in order. Well, welcome everybody tonight to our town board meeting. First order of business, salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order of business to accept the minutes of the August 9th meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brian, second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Next, we have Jaden and Janelle Eagleoff, and I forgot the coach's name, but Matt. They would like to talk to us about. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Janelle Eagloff, and this is my daughter, Jaden. I, along with Matt Brown, we coach a 16U travel softball team called the Upstate Revenge. In July, Mr. Garrity and the town graciously allowed us to use the fields. The town workers worked tirelessly to get the fields in shape to have this tournament by laying turf and making sure we had home run fences, and the fields look absolutely beautiful. For that tournament, we were able to raise enough money to participate in tournaments this fall. We're signed up for about 5 tournaments right now to showcase what the girls have learned from Matt and I. We also got a ton of feedback from the other coaches and other teams saying how beautiful this town is, and the background of the fields is just gorgeous. We had the umpires and other teams begging us this fall to come back. And just so you know, it's a lot of hard work to put together a tournament. So we hope that we can have another tournament in the spring, if you guys will allow us to do that. We'd also like to say thank you for letting us come to the fields on Sundays to have our practices. We have kids from Ticonderoga, we have kids from Peru, we have kids from Poultney, Vermont, South Glens Falls, things like that. So this is kind of our meeting spot. So we really appreciate all the hard work. Tony Fruta was the main man there working for us, and he just did everything we asked him to do and more. So thank you very much. And Jaden would like to bring you up a plaque, if that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Jaden. And you did it was good for Warrensburg. It was good for the girls to be able to come up and have a tournament. We enjoyed having them here. And as she said, the backdrop of the Three Sisters, where the fields are, and we were able to make some improvements on the fields, and we're going to continue to make improvements, and we're going to continue to welcome more of this into the town. So thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
We
it.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, next we'll open a public hearing on the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan will allow 3 minutes of comments, and one bite of the apple. Once you come up, that'll be it. So please collect your thoughts, and then we'll move on after that. And if we've already heard something, we get it. If we don't need 5 or 6 people to come up and say the same thing, so we can move the hearing along. So anybody who wishes to address the board, please come to the microphone. State your name, your address, and where you live. Thank you.
Do you want me to read the public?
Yes, we should lead the public notice.
I'd first like to introduce my deputy clerk, Judy Hall. She started in June, and I didn't get to introduce you yet, but she's going to read it for us. So Judy Hall, go ahead.
Notice of public hearing, comprehensive plan update. The town of Warrensburg will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 13th at 7 p.m. at the Warrensburg Town Hall, 3797 Main Street, Warrensburg, New York, 12885, for the Town of Warrensburg Comprehensive Plan update. At this hearing, the public is invited to provide feedback on the final draft of the comprehensive plan. You can view the full copy of the plan on our town's website.
Thank you.
In this draft plan that we have now, we did make a couple of changes. We took the overlay district out, and we took the opportunity. We don't feel, or I don't feel, and I think the town board agrees when we don't need any more committees in the town. We have enough committees, and we feel with the committees that we have currently in the town, we can see this plan forward. So that being said, I'll open it up to any public comment. Sure.
So this is addressed to Supervisor Garrity and the town board members. The Warrensburg Thurman Historical Society has taken some time to review the draft comprehensive plan. We are pleased with the progression of the document and would like to offer a few comments. Whereas the previous comprehensive plans that have been adopted by the town board always identified the importance of the historic viability of the community, the current draft of the comprehensive plan has left that out. We suggest and request the following update to the vision to be inclusive of the town's historic area. This is from the vision statement. Warrensburg economy is growing with new businesses and greater support and revenue for the many local businesses that call Warrensburg home. Our historic hamlet is an inviting place that welcomes new residents, visitors, and passers through to stay in the community, stop and frequent our shops, take in the scenic sights of the Hudson and Schroon rivers, and hike, ski, and fish at our local parks and recreation areas. We continue to attract visitors drawn to the beauty of the community and our natural recreational assets, while supporting our residents' ability to age in place and former residents dream of returning home with a range of affordable housing options. We balance the needs of the local residents and tourists in a manner that is mutually beneficial. We protect and celebrate our natural resources and landscapes. Our residents desire to call Warrensburg their home. Expansion of local businesses and the uniqueness of our historical and architectural significant area, all of which together create a thriving community for future generations. We would also like to stress the importance of goal number 3, encourage new development while preserving local identity and character, to embrace the preservation of the few remaining historic sites and buildings. The overlay zone that is described in this goal is critical to help recognize historic sites and buildings. We hope you take our comments into account to make a simple adjustment to the vision statement and recognize our support for the comp plan as it relates to the history of the community. And this is from Gary Pavona, the president of the Warrensburg Thurman Historical Society.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Please.
Teresa Whalen, 43 Orton Drive. For many years, the phrase or slogan most associated with Warrensburg was, "in harmony with its past." However, the vision statement on page 9 only mentions our natural and recreational assets, leaving out our historic resources. If you think about this, nature and recreational are one and the same, whereas historic resources reference our architectural heritage, a strong part of our identity and the charm of our hamlet. I think it would be more accurate if historic resources were included in the statement, especially since those on Main Street are at risk, as you mentioned in the document, on pages 20, actually pages 28 through 30. This would also be consistent with the current comprehensive plan vision statement. The biggest issue is the rezoning of Main Street to all commercial, which would put in jeopardy the many historic properties that exist in the areas that are currently zoned hamlet mixed use. The creation of an overlay district on Main Street would provide for more allowed uses in the corridor while suggesting adaptive reuse for our historic properties rather than demolition. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, please?
Hi, Lil Costa, 29 Lily Pond Lane. I've never talked at the meeting before. It's been a long time since I spoke in public, but I'm going on the tail of 2 women who really expressed the beautiful heritage that Warrensburg has. So in that vein, I noticed, and I would like to recommend the Arch organization, which is part of the Adirondack Architectural Heritage. I know that they've made a presentation here in Warrensburg when the dollar store was going up, unfortunately. But anyway, I would like to see them referenced and have them be a part of reference for anything that we do in the town. Maybe they could be on a committee or something. The other thing that I found missing, unless it was there, was the library. We have a beautiful historic library, and I would like to see the librarian part of one of the committees that you that you've started for the growth of the town. We have many people that utilize the library, and I know that in the past we tried to have teenagers from high school volunteer perhaps in the library. So I think it's part of the community, and I would like to see the library being part of this. Overall, I really enjoyed reading the whole plan, and I thought it was well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Paul Gilchrist, North Caldwell. Did I understand, I'm a little confused now, did I understand that you had removed the overlay?
Yes.
Okay, well, my whole statement here was kind of based on the assumption that that was still in the diagram. That was the diagram we,
You can comment on it, whatever you want for 3 minutes, Paul.
okay.
Okay.
Well, the obvious first step in critiquing the 2023 draft of the plan is to compare it to the last comprehensive plan of 2012. That plan noted the importance of the town's historic resources in its vision statement, touting the 2-mile historic Main Street and advocating preserving and enhancing the historic resources of the community. However, in the 2023 vision statement, any reference to history is nowhere to be found. I wonder if those responsible for deleting history also would like to abolish the Historical Society, the Town Historian's Office, the Museum, and Warrensburg Beautification as well. Why would the town spend money on these organizations if the result of its new comprehensive plan would be to make the town's history disappear? It's a fundamental principle of planning for a community's future. The strip development is a no-no to be avoided like the plague. Hence, the 2012 plan on page 20 advises and warns against the risk of creating a 2-mile strip development along Main Street. One couldn't name a planning rule more basic than that one. That's why the Hamlet mixed-use zone was created to preserve the residential and historic homes. I'll skip down a little bit. The vision statement mentions visitors enjoying the town's beauty, but if the plan comes to fruition without any protection of historic sites, the beauty could soon be gone, at least on Main Street. What charm and beauty Main Street has is because of its old buildings, both residential and commercial, and that's what Hamlet mixed use was intended to preserve. The Miles Thomas house that was used by several groups deteriorated and was sold. Fortunately, current zoning prevented it being demolished and replaced by a dollar store several years ago. It's been undergoing restoration, and so is the Pasco Risk Brown Block, and the Emerson House looks like it's going to survive. This will all contribute positively to the economy without being torn down, simply restored. The overlay zone being proposed is a crucial and very reasonable compromise solution that can help preserve the historic residences and buildings on Main Street. I hope the overlay zone will be approved and put back in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
Frank LaDuca, 561 State Route 28. First of all, today was the first day I really read the document. It's a fantastic document. But the only comment that I would like to add is that I didn't see it, but I think that it goes along with historical, that someplace in that plan, when you talk about commercial buildings, whether you renovate historical buildings or whether you add new buildings, they need to have what I'll call curb appeal, which means it needs to look like it belongs there. I've been in many towns across this country. I've been to every one of the 50 states in this country. And I've seen many, many towns that have done such a tremendous job taking an old, place and making it something that everyone wants to come to, and it looks like it belongs and doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. So I would like something like that added in the plan for perspective for the architecture.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? John, any comments from the board?
Being on the committee, first of all, I want to thank Norvell, Chris, LaBella, this tremendous document. It was a lot of work. And all the shareholders or stakeholders that went to all the invites, their inputs. The obvious thing that I got out of the exercise was our housing. We lack housing, as in every hamlet, town in the Adirondacks. The retirees are moving in. People downstaters, and they're retiring up here, and there's less housing for anybody that raise families in. The housing market is tremendously skewed when it comes to cost of living to buy a house for young families. So that was my biggest take. As far as the historical, I think it's working out its own way. Just obvious right across the street. We have 2 homes. They're being rehabbed to a tremendous expense. And I like to see that. No one wants to see these tremendous old homes fall down. We got a couple in town that are almost ready to fall down. We'd love to see a couple more families move in and put the dollars necessary to rehab these homes. And they look beautiful across the road here. I'm all for it. The overlay, I don't think it's going to help that, to restrict and handcuff people who don't want to develop properties like the Crystal Dodge, a brewery we got coming to town. Perhaps you talk about Dollar General. That building sat for 8 or 9 years with a for sale sign on it. Nobody wanted to buy it. Anybody could have. A bunch of people could have got together to save the building. I don't know what an owner's supposed to do if you can't find a buyer. So then they all got to snowball into this problem we ended up with. But we got a Dollar General's being used, and it's increased our townwide assessment along with other development in town that this town needs. We need to increase our assessed value tremendously because we're at short end of the stick when it comes to the lake towns. They have all this lakefront, and they have no problem with their assessment. Warrensburg, we're always going to be at that end of, we need commerce, and the Main Street is where it happens. But yet again, we're seeing development. We're seeing these old homes being rehabbed by some really great people that want to see these things preserved. So I don't see what the historical overlay is going to help. We need people that want to save these homes, and an overlay on top of that to restrict our planning, zoning boards, that when people want to come in and save these places, it's already happening. So my comments, Kevin.
Right. Anything to say?
One of the great things I like about Warrensburg always have is that things move relatively slowly around here. There's not any huge development, knocking down our doors. We'd like more, but it comes at a nice, slow, easy pace. Main Street, I don't want to lose our history here and our historic homes, but I don't really think we're in that much of a danger of it because of the Miles Thomas house. The lot size of most of these homes prohibits any actual huge development. So there's nothing to get really up in arms about. As far as having any kind of an architectural thing, it's already these big homes can be such an albatross to a developer or to an owner to try to restore them, to put a further sanctions on them, what they have to do these homes got built in an era when things were much cheaper and we were able to do it. God bless the people that are doing the homes across the street, and some of them are undertaking the task. And I think more people will come along, but we don't want to be in a place where we're mandating to homeowners and landowners what they're going to be doing with their properties. But that's it.
Rich?
Like Mr. I believe it's LaDuca, I've had the opportunity to travel throughout New England in particular. And there have been beautiful communities that I've enjoyed going through because they held on to their historic facades, if you will. I really like that. And at the same point in time, I've had the pleasure of working with several businesses that looked at Warrensburg over the last few years. And I understand what my fellow board members are saying when we can't restrict them. I like the idea of maybe creating facades that are a good fit for our community. And I'm more comfortable with that than saying they have to use an existing building, because sometimes it's just not realistic with the overall cost of preservation. So, and saddling somebody that wants to come to Warrensburg and do some development, it just isn't fair. overall, I thank the group that did the plan. When I first read it, I thought it was a little vague, but I think it needs to be vague. It needs to have open room to evolve. This isn't a once and done deal. The community's going to have to come back and revisit this in a period of time. I can't tell you what that is. Maybe it's 10 years, 15 years. The long and short of what I feel is, yes, let's move forward. Let's do it cautiously. Let's keep what Warrensburg has to the extent that we have a friendly environment for many people to come and visit. At the same point in time, Mr. Garrity stated it many times, we're open for business. We need businesses to come to this community, and I support that. Thank you.
Well, I'd also like to thank Labella. Apparently, I didn't read the same document as some of you have read because I thought they did an excellent job on covering all the bases. And I highlighted what I read in the document, and I was pleasantly surprised and pleased the amenities that Warrensburg has. Probably, I'm not the oldest one in the room, but I've lived here all my life. And I've been honored to be your supervisor since 2006. I've seen a lot of transformation to our community since that time. And I don't lose sight of, I live here for a reason. I could have gone other places. I worked for International Paper. I could have left the community, but I chose to stay here. I chose to live here. And I am happy when somebody takes an older home and invests a lot of money in, but it does take a big investment. I've talked to people about investing in the pillars, what they would do. There are people that were interested in investing in the pillars, but until the cost of the property becomes prohibitive to go next door, and they were willing to keep the main part of the pillars and maybe remove the old
Outbuildings.
the outbuildings, but put something there and keep it going. But right now, the cost, the owners have made the cost prohibitive for anybody to buy that. To put $500,000 in that piece of property and then probably put another $500,000 into rehabbing the pillars is a big ask for anybody. Like I said, I look at the two across the street, we're very, very pleased with that. The Miles Thomas house was made mention. The house was deteriorating. And the town of Warrensburg owned the house, but was not taking care of it. We had a decision to make. Could we burden our taxpayers to put the money needed to bring that house up to code in our budget? Or do we fix the roads, the water, the sewer, the other things that we had fallen behind on? So we decided to, well, I tried to give the house to Historical Society. I tried to give the house to Beautification Committee. Couldn't, because they're not a part of the town. I tried to give it away to them for $1. Nobody wanted it. So we put it on the market. After we sold it, somebody came in and said, oh, we would have purchased it for this kind of money and would have done something else with it. We didn't know that at the time. We were not made aware of that till after it was sold. And hopefully the person who bought it, it's taken him a long time, but he's starting to do some development, starting to fix the building up. But it was going to be cost prohibitive for the town. And I didn't think at the time when we let the house go that we could afford it. Times being up to what they are now, we try to upgrade the town. We do a lot of things that you folks don't see. We've upgraded the water district. We've upgraded the sewer district. We're in the process of upgrading the sewer plant that will last here for another 30 years, we're hoping, after what we did. But it's $1 million cost. Those are what we were working on. We worked on roads. We took a whole area of town this year and paved every road up there because you know why? It needed it. And that area deserved what we put into it. Those are the things that we've tried to do in this community. I think the plan is pretty good. I think we can move ahead. I think we can coexist with history and coexist with other things. I keep history on a lot of organizations. I've got the history on the fire department since it was formed over 100 years ago. I worked for the school on history. I work a lot of places. So I'm not anti-history. I am anti putting more zones in that would just confuse what we have to do as a town committee, the planning board or the zoning board or this and that. And I'm elected to listen to the people, and I elect all the people, not core groups. And that's why I asked to have the overlay plans taken out. Some of the folks on the committee have served at no, they didn't get paid to do that, but they were there at every meeting. They came to me and said, we're not in favor of the overlay district. I went to our folks and I said, if the overlay district, if you can take that out and take out any other committees, certainly I'll embrace the plan. And that's what I plan on doing tonight, embrace the plan. I did not see this plan as not being a good plan. And I highlighted a lot of areas and I shared it with certain people in the audience. But I thought they did a real good job. So I'm prepared to adopt this plan tonight as it sits in front of me. Hearing all the comments and understanding people are concerned about history. I don't think there's one thing is in that plan that says, go out and tear down any old home in this community. What I would like to see is people who want to develop these come to the town and see what we could do to help them develop them. But there's not a lot of money out there, folks. And the money we've gotten has been for sewer projects and water projects and some paving projects. But there's not a lot of people beating our door down and say, here's $1 million, town, you do that. Now we're going to do senior housing. We're working with LaBella. We did get a grant to remove the old highway building over there. And we're hoping to build a 16 to 24 unit senior housing over there in the next couple of years. It takes time. It takes money. And as Brian says, things go slow in government. But those are the things we're looking for the future of the community. And not once did you ever hear any of us say, go out and tear down every old building. I'm aware of it. Rich, Brian, John? So the changes in this plan, I'm willing to vote for tonight and move the plan forward, hearing what the public said. We hear it, but we also have planning boards. We also have zoning boards, and certainly this won't be lost on them. Any other comments before I close the public hearing? Sure.
Manu Davidson, One Ridge. Manu Davidson, One Ridge.
Okay.
My only comment, Mr. Garrity, is that the failure to embrace the historic nature of the community within the zoning, within the comprehensive plan, just invites people to come in and tear the buildings down. There are a few historic buildings left in this community. We should do whatever we can as a community to make sure that they are stay here and remind us what this town is made of. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no other, okay.
Jennifer Mary Bierman, 10 Oak Street. We moved here a little over a year ago,
Okay.
and so far we love it. We moved here because we liked the quaintness of the town. It's a small place. I feel like I'm human again after living kind of near a city. I go to the library and people know my name, and I'm not just another person passing through, which is wonderful. And I was drawn to the town by, like the old buildings and all of that. And as soon after we moved in, the Dollar General was going up, and I was like, oh no, not a Dollar General. I didn't want that here. But, I wasn't here, and water over the dam, right? And so I guess I would hate to see something like that come in and just be like this another big yellow sign on our beautiful Main Street. So thank you for your time and all that you do.
Okay, thank you. Everybody else? Okay, a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion, John.
Public hearing is closed. So I guess with the public hearing being closed, our next item of business, Leah, is to,
I'm not sure what order the board wants to go in, but typically we would recommend going right into SEQR review
the seeker
for this
review.
project.
I think you all have it in your packet.
You should have a part a part one that Labella put together for you, and you should also have a part two.
We have the
Part two has questions and answers. Labella provided some suggestions, and they are only suggestions. They're not the answers because it's you all that get to decide what the answers are. But the way that the long form works, because this is a type 1 action, you have to use the long form. It's, as the title would suggest, longer than the form you guys are usually used to. This form is also set up a little different. You have a preliminary question and you're asked to answer yes or no. And if the answer is no, you move on to the next one and so on. If the answer is yes, then we move on to the sub questions in that category.
Okay.
Would you like me to
Sure,
read aloud the
sure, go
questions?
ahead.
Okay.
And then,
So again, what the board is looking to do is to answer yes or no to these questions. Number 1, impact on land. Proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site.
No.
2, impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site, for example, cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, caves. Most of these questions are looking at like a site-specific
Yeah.
project, so some of them don't
Yeah.
really apply.
so that would be no.
Is that a no for everybody?
That's a no.
Okay. 3, impact on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies, for example, streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes.
Just be no.
No, okay. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater or an aquifer.
No.
Okay. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on lands subject to flooding.
I'm confused. What are they answering yes or no to? Is it a specific piece of property that they're voting on?
No, this is, we're voting on the comprehensive plan total.
The form is for projects that may involve a particular piece of property, but
But
it's
this is
kind
on
of
the
a
plan,
blanket thing, so.
These are rulings for,
the total plan.
thank you,
Mhm.
sorry.
Impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source.
No.
No. Impacts on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna.
No.
Excuse me, hold on. 7, 8. Impact 8, impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources.
No.
Number 9, impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. Okay, 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource. No, okay. 11, impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal open space plan. 12, impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a critical environmental area.
Nope.
Okay, 13, impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems.
No.
14, impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy.
No.
Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. Nope. Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health for exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants.
No.
Okay, 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans.
No.
Okay. 18, consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character.
No,
Okay.
that's it.
We would normally now invite you to make a separate motion about SECR, but you have a proposed resolution in front of you that includes a proposed finding on SECR of a negative declaration, and what you've just done supports a negative declaration. And also, the resolution, if adopted, would approve of the comprehensive plan. We might make one recommendation, though, in the second to last resolved paragraph. It says the town formally adopts the final comprehensive plan update dated September 2023. We would just, we would just suggest a minor tweak that says the town formally adopts the final comprehensive plan as last updated
Okay,
and dated September of 2023.
okay.
And you're in a position to move forward on the resolution if you want.
Okay. Somebody want to introduce the resolution to approve the plan?
I'll make that resolution.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by
And is,
Councilman Rounds.
I'm so sorry, is the intention to actually adopt the written
Yes.
resolution we have? Okay.
Resolution. Any discussion on the resolution? I'll ask clerk to call voice vote.
Councilperson Alexander,
Yes.
Councilperson Rounds,
Yes.
Councilperson Larkin,
Yes.
and Supervisor Garrett.
Yes. And it's adopted. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our next public hearing. We'll talk tomorrow. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, the second public hearing, which has the clerk to read a legal notice on, please.
Thanks, Judy. Notice of
Can
public,
you speak into that a little bit, please?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Notice of public hearing on proposed local law to amend certain provisions of Chapter 211 of the Town Code entitled zoning. Please take notice that the Warrensburg Town Board will hold a public hearing at the Warrensburg Town Hall, 3797 Main Street, Warrensburg, at 7 p.m. on September 13, 2023, to hear all persons interested on the matter of adoption of a proposed local law entitled A Local Law to Amend Chapter 211 Zoning of the Town of Warrensburg Town Code to add keeping and raising of fowl as a use accessory to residential and agricultural uses in all zoning districts, and to authorize enforcement by code enforcement officer. If adopted, the local law would designate the keeping of fowl, subject to state limitations and requirements, as a use accessory to residential and agricultural uses. It would also effectuate other changes to sections 64, 66, and 67 of the town code to, among other things, include the code enforcement officer as enforcement official for purposes of the zoning chapter. Please take further notice that the copy of the proposed local law is on file with the town clerk's office. Please take further notice that all persons interested in this subject will be heard at this time and place. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open this public hearing and the same rules, 2 minutes, come up and state your name and where you live for the record, please.
Chuck Johnson, 19 Johnson Drive, down off of River Street. I can't quite understand this foul thing. It's, you've been talking about history of the town and whatnot. By doing this, you're taking away a way of life. I've had chickens for 60 years. I've raised chickens. And I can tell you that 6 hens is not enough hens to feed a family of 4. It's not possible. They rotate, you rotate in and out. A good rotation maybe would be a dozen. Because you could, first of all, just because you got 6 hens doesn't mean you get 6 eggs. That's not how it works. Every other day, maybe you'll get an egg. And in the winter, it gets cold. They slow way up. you get half the eggs. And so for families, there's nothing better than raising your own chickens, seeing where they come from and taking care of them. But you're by minimally of 6, you're not doing it any justice at all. You cannot feasibly rotate 6 hens to feed your family or raise meat birds for your family. It's too small. And the other thing I noticed on there was no male birds. Well, I can tell you right now that guinea hens, the females are the loudest ones in the flock. And I've had plenty of hens that talk much louder than roosters do. And so whoever is laying this out really doesn't necessarily know what they're talking about. And I can't imagine that zoning don't have enough to do other than worry about chickens. And another thing, I'd be curious as to how many separate complaints you got on chickens in this town from different people. I'm not saying 100 complaints from the same person. I'm wondering how many complaints by different people was received. I'd be curious to hear that.
Yeah, go ahead. You can answer
Hi.
some of those.
I'm not sure I can answer much, but I guess I wanted to just point something out. As far as we're aware, outside of, I don't know if you own land within an agricultural district or anything, but just in general, this law is not meant to restrict what's allowed already. It's actually meant to allow the keeping of birds where none are currently allowed. So it's not that the town board is attempting to come in and say, we don't want people to have chickens. It was, oh, people aren't allowed to have chickens. Let's start allowing people to have chickens. So that was the viewpoint of the law. It wasn't.
People have always had chickens.
So we're talking about legally. What we're
Legally
trying to do
chickens. Oh, yes.
is
you're
allow
right. Yes, most
for
of mine
people
are
to have.
probably illegal chickens.
So, so I just kind of wanted to clarify that because I can tell you're a little upset about, I think,
I
what
was
is
upset about
perceived
people
as
telling me what to
limiting.
do with my property.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think that zoning has more than enough to deal with, other than worrying about somebody's chickens.
Right.
Okay,
So if
Chuck.
this
As long
law,
as they're keeping it on their own property.
She's trying to answer the questions.
right. So I think the point you were making to the board, and I think they heard you, was, hey, 6 is too small of a number, and reconsider what sorts of birds, between male and
That's not a
female.
feasible amount. Did you think about that?
Okay.
Would you be able to feed a family for breakfast in 1 week with 6 chickens?
Right. I'm not the one you've got to convince. I'm just trying to answer. I just
Chuck,
wanted you to understand.
Where did you
the
get your
facts.
information?
We've got,
Where did your information come from?
well, the complaints come from people calling into the town. We've had.
How
probably-
many? I just asked that question. How
Well,
many complaints
I'm
out
not,
of this whole town?
I think there may be 4 or 5 complaints out there.
And so we're going to make a law for 4 or 5 complaints.
Well, it's the complaint,
Or is it who's complaining?
Excuse me. You want to let me finish? It's the people who let their chickens run without being kept into a pen. That was the issue. And it's becoming more and more and more after COVID. More and more people have chickens and they use them for the eggs. And
The free range, all right? They just got a
it's
box.
really the free range. We don't have an idea. That's why we're having a public hearing. We got your comments. We'll take them to
Let
heart.
me explain to you about free range.
Yeah.
I think the furthest that any chicken of mine has ever gone from its coop is right around 200 feet.
Okay.
They don't go much farther than that from their coop. Nice people that get a kick out of you buy them at the store, free range my ass. They go
Okay.
no more than 200 feet from their coop. And they will go to bed when the sun goes down, and they get up when the sun comes up. They aren't like the neighbor's dog barking to be let in and out. I'd say they're much quieter in the whole scheme of things.
Yes.
So the whole thing, I don't understand.
We're going to take your comments. That's why we're having a public hearing.
I just, I don't think much thought was put into it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to talk about the follow-up?
My name is Kevin Bellinger. I live at 19 James Street, just up here, a mile away. My family and I are citizens of this town, and I'm here to address the proposed poultry restrictions. My family and I have owned chickens for almost 20 years now. We have had no problems or complaints. In fact, just the opposite. Most people admire and compliment them and I know my neighbors do enjoy them. Poultry consumes ticks and many other insects. My kids enjoy them, and it gives them the responsibility of water and feed and gathering eggs and just keeping things clean. Limiting the numbers of chickens you can have to 6 is just wrong. 6 hens would have a hard time laying 6 eggs per day, lucky in the summer months. And in the wintertime, you'd be lucky between 0 and 3 per day. Also, New York City has 6 chicken limit. Okay? And Warrensburg is far from a city. Most residents want to keep it that way too. I have property rights and we pay taxes, and to put restrictions on such is just one more thing that take away our freedom. Our freedom is being lost every day in this country. Let's not have one more taken away, especially when I've heard of no complaints.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
And one more thing.
Okay.
And if there was a complaint, then it should be done by case.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to address this? Please come up.
Well, I'm not a public speaker, so I'll probably
That's
be very
okay.
nervous.
Just, we need your name and where you live.
Yes. Okay. I'm Toby Binder and I live on Hudson Street.
Okay,
I have 8 birds, and the idea of having to pick 2 to get rid of breaks my heart because they are my baby girls. They're no different than a puppy or anything like that. We really do enjoy them, and most people didn't even know I had them because they're not loud and they're clean. They don't smell. We have a beautiful environment for them. But what I wanted to say was I don't know much about free ranging or roosters or anything like that because I don't have them. I'm one of the new people who took this on, and it became something I can bond with my children, my older children who usually fly the coop. They don't. They're coming back to me, and we are enjoying this lovely thing. Most people don't call you and say, oh my God, I love my neighbor. She has chickens and she shares her eggs with me. They don't call you and tell you that. But I can show you text messages that were not a part of the conversation about the town sharing and changing the laws. I never had these conversations with my neighbors. There was no derogatory comments or anything. They don't even know I'm here, and I don't want to turn their names in. But I have text messages that are actually compliments. One neighbor here says she had friends over to enjoy her flowers and do a garden thing just last week. And she said, to our pleasure, your birds were singing, and my company loved it too. We love the eggs. Thank you for sharing. Anytime you're away, please consider us to babysit. Now, they bring treats over for the birds. They visit, they come over with their dog and they visit. We don't free range. They have a beautiful environment that they are in. So that's just one neighbor. The other neighbor, we are going away this weekend. Nobody will be home. That neighbor was asked to watch our birds. The other neighbor got jealous because she wants to watch the birds. And I have all that, but nobody calls you and tells you how wonderful they can be. They only the 4 or 5 complaints or however many. And I can appreciate people complaining when a dog barks nonstop or the fireworks go off. My birds don't make that much noise, and most people don't even know I have them. They're tucked away behind my barn and they're happy. My neighbors are happy. So there's not just negative complaints. And I can even screenshot these and share them. But it does make us happy, and it makes my neighbors happy. They're all elderly,
we
everyone.
need to wrap up because we got.
Okay, all right, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Toby.
Yep. Anybody else?
I have a question. Is this for just the hamlet, or is this for all of Warrensburg?
I believe it's for basically the Hamlet area, but I'll ask the attorney.
Yeah, it allows hens or the female of the fowl in any zoning district. It allows the male in only one zoning district.
Okay. And my next question is, are you limiting the amount of chickens that people can have, or are you just saying that you want them? I didn't read it, so
Both.
so you're limiting them how many they can have, plus you want them confined.
As it's written in this.
Well,
They don't have to be confined indoors. They can be outdoors.
No, but I
there's
mean,
a
within
fencing
a fenced-in
requirement.
area, you want them
Right.
within a fenced-in area, but you're also telling people how many chickens they could have. Is that correct?
well,
There's a
that's,
limit on how
that's
many
what
are
the
allowed.
proposed law is. We're getting public comment and, you know,
Oh, I
we may
see.
go back and not even
I just didn't
deal with this
understand what you were
tonight
doing,
until we
so-
sort out. I do have one written, you know, we urge the town to adopt the local law on September 9th with fines to stop chickens and other fowl from roaming cage-free. Currently, the police and animal control have no recourse to stop chickens from destroying other people's property. The attached photographs show the damage they have done to our property because there isn't a law. And that was sent in from Kathy Varney on 2 Sanford Street with a picture of neighbor's chickens running on her property and you know, she didn't like it. So she sent that in. And as I like to point out, you know, we don't sit here and dream up this stuff. You react to what some of the public say, even though it's maybe 5 people. I think it's 5 people. It could be more than 5 people. And you look at the way our laws are written, and then we have to act. So that's why we're having a public hearing. It's not cast in stone. We're listening to the comments tonight, and then I would believe the way I feel about it, maybe we need to reconvene this and talk about it a little bit more. And we could just extend the public hearing to next month's meeting if we want to have some discussion.
I'd like to.
I would too.
You know, but anybody else wish to address it? Go ahead, please.
Janet Tolman, 15 Mountain Avenue. I don't own chickens. I would not choose to own chickens. I don't really like them that much except to eat. But I stand very strongly behind the people's right here in town, in the hamlet, to raise them. And the reason I'm getting up and saying this is because I want you to consider just a slightly different perspective. My great-grandfather knew how to make turtle soup. He never made me turtle soup. The reason he knew how to make that, even though he didn't like it, is because he was raising a family during the Depression. And turtle was protein. I don't know what the next 20, 30, 40 years are going to bring to Warrensburg. But I want the people here, the kids that are being raised here right now, to know how to raise their own food, to be self-sufficient. I don't trust that the global food supply is going to hold for the rest of my life. I think kids need to know how to garden, how to hunt, fish, raise small animals in their backyards, raise big animals. And I want to make sure that we don't do anything to limit that.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else wish to comment on this one?
Jennifer Bierman, 10 Oak Street. I don't have chickens either. I agree with what Janet said. We've had chickens in the past. I understand they can get into like mulch and dig stuff because they like to get insects, and that could be harmful to maybe somebody's property. And can you figure it out with your neighbor? Like, could that be possible instead of going up the line? You know, like maybe that's an option. I don't know. Also, is the law talking about other fowl? Because I know another gentleman brought it up, or is it just chickens?
As it's currently drafted, the definition of fowl for this purpose is chickens, ducks, guinea fowl, turkey, and quail.
Yeah. So I hope you continue this conversation because I think there are a lot of things that haven't been seen yet. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
You know, I got a comment if it's okay.
Sure.
Just last night I made Amish mustard pickled eggs from my son's chickens from Thurman. During COVID, he lived with us here at Woodward Avenue. He likes chickens. We had 6. That's all he wanted to deal with. He built his own coop and the whole thing. We let him, call free range in my backyard. I didn't particularly like to step in chicken shit, or when I walked in my garage, I didn't care about that. But I dealt with it because the eggs were great, as they were with Amish pickled mustard eggs last night. Anyway, I think I can go along with what you want, but perhaps is it possible for those that will like free arranging, maybe put fences up between your neighbors if you got, I know they fly low, but my son, he has pallet fences. He put pallet fences in Thurman and they really don't. They stick around their yard. They really don't go anywhere.
No.
But that's, in all, it's, I have got a problem with. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
Okay. So, Brian?
I got no problem with the amount of chickens somebody has. It's just, we have to be good neighbors to each other. So if maybe you have a chicken that won't stay home and it's going, that one's got to get
That's right.
turned into,
He's going to in the box. He's going
turned
to
into
box.
something
Chicken
else.
soup.
But I think before Kevin and I discussed before that it's different landowners have different land masses and stuff. Chuck's out there and God's country almost. So, I don't see limiting the amount of chickens, but we shouldn't have to mandate to be good neighbors.
No.
Right, you're right.
So if it's a dog barking or whatever, I personally want to be able to walk across my own lawn with reckless abandon and bare feet. And so I should be able to because I don't have any animals. So that being said, I think we can find a solution to make this work.
Rich?
One of the things stated tonight was this is just for the hamlet, if I understood that correctly. I don't think either of you gentlemen live in the hamlet as I understand it. Is that correct?
Mr. Bellinger.
No, it's Kevin.
Mr. Bellinger does.
James Street.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your.
My concern isn't just
Let
for
me- let me-
myself.
Wait,
Let me
we got it.
finish, I think the board would like to table this, and I would be in agreement with that. I don't think 6 is the right number. I think it should be higher. And I'm hoping that the supervisor will push this out till next month. I'd like to share with you a personal experience. For those that do have chickens, if your chickens aren't producing well in the winter, give them a heat lamp and you'll see an amazing difference.
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's okay. We're done. Did you want to speak, Jim?
Jim Hall, I live on Pasco Avenue in Warrensburg. I don't eat chickens. I don't like chickens. I eat eggs though. I'm the code enforcement officer. The problem with this, how this came from, is because people who have chickens that free range within the town of Warrensburg are running on people's porches and taking craps. They're on top of their cars, going to the bathroom, and they call the town hall and they want somebody to do something about it. There's currently nothing in the town codes that says that you can go out and make them do anything with their chickens. So the people call back and rant and rave. My suggestion to one guy was to get some bags and round them up and take them over to Thurman and leave them for the weekend. The reason why there's a speed limit on Main Street of 30 miles an hour is because if there wasn't a speed limit on Main Street of 30 miles an hour, people would be driving 100 down Main Street. I'm not against chickens, but there are people out there who go out and get chickens and turn them loose, and now they're on their neighbor's property. They're not good stewards of their property. And then they call the town hall and they complain, just like they do. We have a dog warden that goes out and takes care of dogs. They call up and complain about people with garbage, and I have to go out and listen to that, and people that don't mow their lawn. I mean, I've been to people who said, oh, you're doing that again this year, the mowing the lawn thing? Yeah, we're doing that again this year. You got to mow your lawn. There are people out there that will go buy chickens, throw them out in the yard, and they're off to the races. And now they're at the neighbors, and now they're crapping on the neighbor's property, and the neighbors don't like it. So the intent of this thing, I believe, is to simply to have some authority so the town can make people control their chickens and keep them on their own property. I don't care if they got 6 or 60. It makes no difference. But if you've got them, control them. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments? Well, I think what we should do rather than close this public hearing is just continue it to next month's meeting and we'll have a discussion amongst themselves. We'll take the comments made tonight and we'll see if we can't work out some compromise and we'll discuss it. But I appreciate everybody's comments tonight. And as I said, it is because people come in and they do offer complaints about a lot of things. I thought it was 5. It could be more than 5. I know that some people get upset because others the neighbors' chickens are going on their properties, on their porches, and it may not be true of everybody, but there are some irresponsible chicken owners right now. So we'll continue this, and we'll have further discussion at the October meeting. So I thank everybody for coming in.
Thank you, folks.
Okay, we won't close this one.
Yeah, we'll dispense with a reading of the.
Whatever, yeah, I would.
I would, yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to go on with the rest of the meeting. We're just going to suspend reading of any of the reports. The time is getting late. That's okay with everybody? Okay. Communications, we received no communications. I'd just like to comment on the River Street Sidewalk project. It seems to be moving along very well. Our town folks are making good headway with the River Street Sidewalk, and also the contractor. We hope to wrap it up in another month, I would say, Mr. Pennick. Yes. Yeah, so it's going very, very well. I'm very pleased with the way it's going. Reminder during the garage sale is coming up at the end of the month. There will be emergency access routes set up in town. They are part of our code, and we will be towing vehicles if you're parked on emergency access routes. And one of the emergency access routes that always plugs up is Elm Street. There's no parking on Elm Street either side during the garage sale. And I think the other streets are Second, Adirondack. We have certain ones that are in our code. They'll all be posted. But if you see people parking on Elm Street and you see a rollback there, we are going to tow the vehicles. We need to keep the town open for emergency services. We do not want to see somebody have a tragedy on the back streets where we can't get up through or get over to the back streets. So we need to keep it open. I just want to remind everybody, there will be enforcement here during the garage sale, and then please adhere to the local laws. If you don't understand where they are, please get a hold of the town clerk and they can give you a list of the streets. Next one, I have to sit down, John, you'll have to do this. I have to recuse myself. This is a oxy tax for the fire company. So I have to step down. I recuse myself. And
I would ask request for Warrensburg Volunteer Fire Company in the amount of $7,699.27 for advertising and expenses for the annual Smoke Eaters Jamboree held on July 28th and 29th, 2023. Do we have a motion?
So moved. I'll second it.
Rich, Brian. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor? Aye. Pete, I'll go back in.
all right. The town and Ash Real Estate Holdings has come to a settlement agreement on the Gristmill property at 100 River Street. If anybody wants to see any copy of the agreement, please come to see me at the office. But we do have an agreement, and it's in force until September of 2024. At the end of September of 2024, there will be some changes down there. I need a resolution to enter into agreement with Cedarwood Engineering for Warrensburg Water Source Investigation Study for a new well. Cost of the study is not to exceed $40,000, and we're applying for a USDA grant in the amount of $30,000, and town funds will be used for the balance of it. So a motion by Rich.
I'll second it.
By Brian to enter an agreement with Cedarwood Engineering. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right. I have a budget modification. If I can find it. We have a budget modification in the amount of $60,000, and we're taking it from appropriate fund balance. $30,000 goes into planning department, planning contractual to finish paying the balance of the comprehensive study. And the $30,000 goes into refuse collection contractual, and that's to pay the tipping fees at the landfill. So motion to approve the budget modification. Motion?
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor on the budget modification signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have several budget transfers tonight. First one, we're taking $2,500 out of contingency fund and putting $1,000 into justice contractual and supervisor contractual to cover expenses. Next, in the general fund, we're taking $1,000 out of personal services part-time. We're moving into personal services overtime to cover overtime expenses. And that's for the winter sidewalk plowing. And the next one, we are taking $1,500 out of beach contractual and moving into the beach personal services. We had extra lifeguards this year, and we came up short a little bit to cover the expenses, an amount of $1,500. In the water district, we're taking $1,000 out of source supply electric and source supply part-time, and we're moving it into $2,000 into source supply overtime to cover expenses for overtime in the water district. We're taking $750 out of purification part-time and moving it into purification overtime, again, to cover any overtime expenses in the water district. And then we're taking $10,000 out of transmission and distribution equipment, and we're moving it into source of supply equipment, an amount of $10,000 to cover costs of a new motor that we purchased for the wells. And then we're also taking $6,000 out of transmission and distribution contractual, moving over source of supply equipment. Again, $6,000 to cover the cost of new motors. So the motion to approve the modification or budget transfers.
I'll make them.
Motion by Brian, second by John to approve the budget transfers. Any discussion? A lot of these, what we found is our motors on our wells, some are 25 horse, some are 30 horse. And we are going to have spare motors and spare pumps for each well. We got a little bit behind in supply chain. We waited probably three or 4 months to get just a motor for one of the wells. So that's why we're jumping ahead on that. I need a resolution to pay the warrants on bills on warrant number 9. Total cost of the claims tonight is $308,533.23. And most of that is for the sludge project. Motion?
I'll second that.
Motion by John, second by Brian. Discussion on the warrants. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Any comments tonight from the public? I thank everybody for the patience, good dialogue, and we appreciate that. We'll capture all the comments, and we'll make sure moving forward that we adhere to that, and hopefully we can solve the chicken law or the fowl law, whatever you want to call it, by next month's meeting. But I appreciate all the comments, and thank you for coming. Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Thank you all.
Can I get your signature on that?
Yes, ma'am.